Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 151. Today we are being joined by Dave Hanson, myself, Luke, and we got Cody. Richie is not able to make it, unfortunately, and Graham will be joining us in a couple minutes. He's running a little bit late.
Surprise, surprise, Graham is late. Who would have guessed?
Hey, I tried to do a decent enough job on the intro, but something tells me he's not going to pick up on the outro.
Hey, you didn't fuck it up. You didn't mess up which number it was, and you pronounced his last name right. I'd say you're doing better than Graham.
Yeah, I don't think the listeners will, but so Dave, we've been talking for a little while already. How you doing?
I'm
Where
doing
you
all
out
right.
of?
What?
Like, what
Where
part
you
of the
from?
country are you from?
Oh, so I'm smack dab in the middle of Illinois. I don't think you could get it any more middle.
Good old
Unfortunately,
corn country.
yeah.
Well, so if you want, just start out with just telling us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into wheeling? What do you currently drive in? All that kind of jazz.
So I mean, typical Midwesterner. I got into wheeling in high school, just back roads and finding mud with my friends in my Z71, and quickly learned that that's not for me. But right after high school, I joined the Army. So I was fortunate enough to go down to Georgia and then up into Washington State. And when I was in Washington State, I got into wheeling pretty hard up there. For the times that I was there, that was sort of slim at that point in time. But I had a 93 4Runner that had been solid axle swapped and basic shit, 37s and long field shafts and nothing too spectacular, but I guess back then they were pretty cool. But I sold that once I got out of active duty and came home, and I've had all sorts of rigs. I've had XJs. I had a VJ with a 392 stroker on 37s, and currently
How
I've
was
got
the 392? I don't really want to go super far into it, but like I'm just curious because that's a different choice than the LS and all that.
it was not a Hemi 392. It was a Borden Stroke 318 Magnum.
Yeah, that's what I figured when you said ZJ.
Yeah, so their Hughes Performance is extremely local to me, within 20 miles. So they had everything. So it had Engine Quest iron heads. It wasn't super performance, but it was enough to break pretty much everything. And I was on a high pinion 30 and an 8.8, and everything was chromoly. I could, I could say, hey, I'm gonna break a shaft, and immediately break a shaft. So, that got sold. The ZJ got sold. I had a CJ7 for a long time, and it was on 40s and everything else, and I just wanted something different. I had the CJ while I was building my bouncer. I've got a whole work copy, basically, chassis that I built, and it's got it's a straight ethanol rig.
That
408
scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
ethanol is just, it's not methanol, it's ethanol, so it's Everclear. Basically, it's just corn gas.
Okay. Yeah. I was thinking.
So
yeah.
it's like E85 without, it's E100 basically.
Yeah, that was a brain fart there.
I did too. Don't worry, Luke. I was with you. I'm like, brother, what? That's terrifying. Clear fire. Hell no.
No, this is bright blue fire.
Oh, okay. So it's very visible. You know when it's happening.
Yeah, but it's a Whipple Charge 408, and
Jeez.
it's my daughter's college fund that I have wrapped up into that, and it just sits in my shop. Every time I take it out, it's minimum $3,000 because I wad it up.
Oh man.
So the last time what did I do? I broke a shock shaft, a 1480 drive shaft, the yoke on the 14 bolt and the Atlas. Ripped my truss off the 14 bolt, and it was off the trailer for an hour and a half. So
I mean, how hard are you fucking hill killing this thing?
I was playing in rocks was the problem. So I overextended and got a tire and an undercut, and well, I got 1,000 horsepower. I'll just power through it, and the front end powered through, the rear end did not. And
no.
so at that point, the CJ was done. I had broken the frame on that a few times when I was sick of cobbling that back together. So I'm pretty notorious for buying somebody else's rig and then just completely tearing it apart and dumping more money into somebody else's rig than I could have built one myself.
That is the one downside to buying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not going like I'll buy something looking at the parts list. You know what I mean? I'm not buying a rig just because I like the rig. I'm buying a rig knowing that I'm going to have to do a ton of work to it. But if it's got good bones but terrible execution, I'm good with it. But I bought my Ranger, and it was solid axle swap Ranger, Dana 44 front, 10 and a quarter in the rear. It had some magnesium Brogue Warner transfer case in it, T18, and a 302. Well, the 302 was carbureted, and I'm not smart enough to know how to mess with carburetors, so I put it on propane, and I did some suspension tweaking and everything else. Bought a set of 38-inch Mickey Thompson Pro XSs.
Those tires fucking work.
Yeah, they work too well, because first time I took it out, I broke the Dana 44 housing in half.
How do you blow a housing up?
I don't know. I'm hard on parts apparently. But it pulled the tube. It pulled the short tube out of the housing. So I did that. I ended up buying a 78 F250 Dana 44, so it has half-inch wall tubes. I did Chevy outers, chromoly's, obviously, since I was running 38s, an Eaton E-locker, and then all wide open designs, aluminum link on the steering and just hydraulic assist.
So did you run that hydro assist with just like one of the clamp style mounts?
I did. I bought a TMR mount, but it pushed on the tie rod and sort of made the tie rod. So that thing is going under the knife here before too long. That core event that Chris was talking about last week, I brought that rig last year. I broke the passenger side frame rail right at the firewall. Tried ripping the axle off the spring perch on the driver's side of the front axle. And then somehow, I to backtrack, I ended up putting a Magnum box and a Ford MP 205 in it, and it's 538 gears front and rear. But somewhere I had it's bound in low range in the 205. I can't get it to shift out of low range in the 205.
That's a good one for Graham because he fucking deals with 205s exclusively. It seems like, because he's not smart enough to just go buy an Atlas.
Honestly, 205s are stronger than Atlases.
Way to steal my thunder.
I was gonna say Graham would love you. That sounds and they're $1 million cheaper. Hardy har 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 har.
I don't know. I've got a ton of money in this 205.
Yeah, they're really not that much cheaper in the end.
So I'm pretty fortunate. There's a guy down here that's maybe 60 miles away from me that does nothing but build 205s. He'll build them for pulling trucks and all sorts of shit. So once I got the Magnum box and everything else, I just brought it to him and just gave him money, and he went through everything. And I told him, I'm like, listen, I want to beat the shit out of this thing. So all I really got to do is pull the 205 and Magnum box out and bring it to him, and he'll fix it. It's under warranty. So yeah, but I mean, it needs to come in the shop. I need to pull the tins off the front and just cut the frame rails, and I'm just going to bend up some tube and stub in tube front frame rail, get rid of all the leaf springs, and probably upper triangulated 4-link in the front, and probably just some 16-inch either air shocks or coilovers. And just put it back together like that, because the rig works extremely well. It's just needs a little bit more suspension, because I'm old and leaf springs beat the shit out of you. So
Yep. Leaf springs are in fact for the pores.
Honestly, I like making, checkbook built rigs look like bitches with a clapped out Ford Ranger on leaf springs.
There is something to be said about leaf springs. Sorry, Go ahead, Cody.
I was just about to say, nothing is cooler than seeing a full leaf spring build do something that, like, just making something look easy, or like actually like watching it fully articulate and like really using that leaf spring suspension. Like something so simple in a leaf spring rig could look way cooler than a full linked out ORI rig. I don't know. To me, there's a uniqueness that I do enjoy, but then it's also like, what are you fucking doing? Link that thing so it can actually perform better. So it's like, I'm on both sides of that.
I will say that in Leaf Spring's defense, a leaf spring rig with a good driver on a good tire can do a fucking lot.
And also leaf springs on the opposite end of, like, front or rear, when the other side is linked, it can make really bad suspension seem a lot better. So there's something kind of like a Cherokee,
it makes an unstable rig extremely stable. Because my CJ, that was the first real time that I attempted to link anything, and I didn't put anything on the calculator. And honestly, none of the rest of my rigs I put anything in a calculator. None of them. But now I know theory, like, okay, link separation and everything else. I'll just throw it in and it works. Both, my Toyota buggy that we haven't even gotten into yet and the Bouncer both have rear sway bars. And I think that's just given a little bit more driver comfort. You got something stuffed, it sort of keeps the body level.
Yeah. When I hit the point where I redo the rear on mine, I want to mount the sway bar to the axle and then just run up to the tube.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. If you can package it that way, that is the way to go.
I think. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But I tried. That was my plan on the Bouncer. I just couldn't package it with my links. So
that makes sense. I can get away with packaging it on mine because of how much link separation I have. I can just go under the links.
Or you could go from the back.
I could go from the back, but if I mount it to the front, it'll be a little bit easier with the getting the clearance, and then just run them forward and up into the cab.
That's a fair point. I don't know. The rear, like putting the sway bars behind the axle, always gives me a cool like pre-runner vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're watching that rear suspension work, and you're just seeing this.
Scared of railing the fucking thing.
Yeah, but if you keep it in line, like, like, I don't know. I guess that's a fair point. Like,
everything under my rig is bent
back there.
Pardon?
Yeah.
It's a lot of low-hanging fruit behind the axle. If you're talking about running the arms behind the axle, right?
Yeah, so like still mounting the actual end links to the, it would be sway bar end links, right? Or just sway bar links, I guess. Down, like keep it in line and mount them to the top. but then having the actual like pivot point on the body behind the axle. Because like on the Cherokees, how it flattens out for where the old bumper like used to mount. I feel like it'd be nice and easy to just be able to like fucking fully go across and then just put like a skid under it, so that way you don't have to worry about shit jamming up in there. But I mean, either or, I think it'll work perfectly fine.
It's definitely gonna help, and then also I'm gonna do the same thing I did in the rears with the spring rate adjusters, and I'm gonna run 300s as my lower spring, so should be able to get it tuned up pretty nice.
Yeah, if you put sway bars on yours, I think you would find a significant bit of like, I wouldn't say performance, but I'd say body comfortability with it. Like, I think you would find that your body would stay so much more level, and does it really fuck with the flex all that much when you're going to like, when you're actually going to a proper sway bar setup? Like, all it really does is just keep the body from just falling over.
The only thing about that, though, is it does center the body over the axle, which sometimes can feel a little weird.
How so, if you don't mind me? That seemed like an odd statement.
Well, like, I noticed when I crank down on the adjusters, I'm not saying that it's perfectly comparable, but now that side doesn't compress the same way, and it kind of like feels like it pushes the body, so I'm thinking that I'd have to run front and rear to get the full effect.
That's a fair point. Kind of, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Just like with a TJ, if you pull, like on the stock suspension setup, you pull one of the sway bars off, half the performance from that sway bar. But I don't know, because I feel like it almost give you the same effect of when you had the leaf springs mildly, because you're not going to get the same rigidity that you used to have. Granted, because yours didn't move in the rear whatsoever.
Oh no, we'll figure it out.
It'll be fine. It's gonna help.
What sway bar are you running, Luke?
I'm not running one yet. I was looking at just mounting an anti-rock on the axle.
Honestly, for the money, spend like the extra $80 and get a TK1 Racing.
Okay.
I heard Curry's setup is pretty sweet too.
They're the same as they're the anti-rocks. The problem with Curry's is the arm, like you can get steel arms or aluminum arms. They just fucking bend. I've got a Curry on the Toyota, and I haven't bent an arm yet, but they just fucking bend. And you call TK1 Racing, you say the weight of the rig, you say, okay, I got 16-inch travel shocks in the rear, blah blah blah. They will set you up with the right spring rate bar. They'll set you up with the right length arms and everything else.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and dude, honestly, they are not. I don't think they're any more expensive than an anti-rock. I really don't. So
yeah, I mean,
devil.
Hi, Graham.
Hey guys, sorry I'm so late, but I'm here.
You're in for a riveting discussion about anti-rocks right now. So
perfect.
Dude, if you guys need monster truck sway bars, they have them. Hell yeah,
that's sick.
That's actually
TK1 Racing.
Yeah. Yep. Their rock crawler kit is $400. That's actually not terrible at all. The anti-rock ones, if you go right off their website, you're looking at $700. So that's it's even cheaper to go with the TK ones, and if it's a better product, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with that. I'm not saying I'm doing it anytime soon. I was just saying that in the future, when that rear end comes off of my rig, that's something that's up for consideration.
I mean, you could put one in now, and it would behave better, but that's just my opinion.
I don't have any complaints about how it behaves, though.
I know you don't. I do, though. As a spectator, which means nothing, but...
Well, what's it do as a spectator?
Body flops.
It just flops around everywhere, which I feel like doesn't... It's not hindering you as long as you're used to it, but...
So that's kind of the point.
Characteristics aren't amazing.
That's the point that I was getting at, where I don't think it'll affect the performance. It'll just give more driver comfortability. But if you're already used to it, then it's really not going to fucking matter all that much. If you're,
I'm also lowering it, so that's
surprise,
gonna be-
surprise,
Oh,
Mr.
you
Low
can't
Cog
go
is
any
low.
lower.
I was just going to say, Mr. Low Cog is going low cog. Who would have thought?
What do
Just
you mean
weld
I
the
can't go lower?
axles to the unibody at this point.
I'm gonna
It'll
push the front
twist. It'll
axle
give you more
forward.
flex.
With the front axle push further forward when it gets stub nosed, it'll get me closer to the crank pulley, so I'll be able to lift the front axle up more. And I'm going to coilovers, so I figure I'll make use of the full travel with hydro.
How
You could
much
go-
more are you actually gonna gain?
Probably another 2-3 inches.
Is there that much of? I don't think there's maybe 2 inches between the bottom of the pan and the crank.
Now the
There's-
big question is, though, if you went with ORIs, you wouldn't have to worry about limit straps, sway bars, and or bump stops. Now, would that save you the money from going with your Pro Fender
I
coilover?
feel like that's fake
It's-
news.
It's not, though. That is
It
literally
100%
one of the,
is.
that is one of the selling points of why people love ORIs, is because they're the big 3-in-1.
Yeah, you
Four, if
don't
you-
need limit
No,
straps
no.
on a coilover, but you'd be wasting your money when it blows up. You don't
Exactly.
need bump stops on your coilovers,
Oh
but you're
my
going to be wasting
gosh,
your money when
man.
it bends.
Well, the thing that I do kind of like is the tunability, right? Because if you're running an air bump, you can adjust the pressure in the air bump. If you're running coilovers, you can change the shim stack. I don't feel like I need to, but maybe. And then you can change the fill level and the pressure level, plus the springs. There's enough adjustment there that like you can do whatever you want.
I believe ORIs are fully adjustable the same. But then again, I already know how to rebuild a coilover. I don't know how much. I haven't pulled one apart. But like a dirt bike coilover, that's super simple. If it even semi crosses over, then I got you. But I'm just currently looking up it because I didn't want us to sound too stupid here with how much adjustability you do get out of an ORI, because I know there's a ton, but I could not answer you if it's the same as, because you can just pull, well, pulling the springs is a lot more difficult, let's be honest, with a ORI. But
Yep.
I wanted to.
But for me, just in my case, the simple biggest negative is how bad Curtis is and some of the other rigs I've been around act different when they get hot. My coilovers don't
Well,
change.
Curtis is just bad at his coilovers are bad.
He has
Or
ORIs. But
His ORIs
he-
are bad.
when was the last time you heard him doing an oil change on his rig? Okay. How much maintenance is that guy doing? Let's be honest here. Okay.
That's a good point. When was the last time Curtis changed his oil?
He probably has had blown seals on his ORI since the day he bought them, and then just keeps wiping them down with his.
No, he
fucking thumb
rebuilt
rag
them
and
a
the-
couple times.
Okay, so you're telling me we're trusting Curtis with rebuilding them? Oh boy, now we're
Ma-
really getting into it. I'm just teasing, by the way. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna throw too much shit at Curtis. I don't know how much he actually does with his.
I haven't seen him rebuild them in a while, but I remember when he had to repressurize them every
time he
towed
put it on the trailer. I don't know. Also, like watching XJ Mike set up and a couple of the other rigs that I've seen on them. I like my coilovers performance characteristics.
No, you're good. I was just trying. I wasn't trying to take a whack at your coilover idea.
No, I
I was just
wasn't-
kind of running off of the sway bar conversation into coilover kind of conversation. But
No, I was just explaining why, like, even though the ORIs come with all that, I like the other option.
But tuning all that in the ORIs isn't as easy as people think.
good point.
You know what I mean? 75% of the ORIs that you see on the trail are tuned to shit.
Yep, because they're a
They
pain in the
either
fucking
work
ass.
and ride like shit, or they ride nice and they don't work worth a fuck. They'll unload, whatever.
Yep.
It's so much easier to set pressures on bumps, adjust your spring rate, adjust your preload. That, in my honest opinion, but that's just me. I mean, there's 100 different ways to build a rig. So
Yeah, I'm just particular
What's
to
that
my
saying
way.
about eating a cow or skinning a cow or something like that?
Eating an
What was the
elephant?
saying? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's like 100 different ways to eat an elephant or something. I don't fucking know. Maybe I should go back to school.
No, you're only supposed to take how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time.
No,
It's not.
that's
Yeah,
There's
not.
100 different ways to skin a cat.
That's the one. That's
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, that's gruesome, but yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. Oh shit. But no, I mean honestly one of the biggest selling points to me is just like 20 minutes of go fast and your ORIs are useless. Like that right there is enough to be like, yeah, I don't even want to look at them, or even for Luke's sake, who likes to, be Bob Skiddly Dad down the trail, and 20 minutes of doing that, and then he tries to go into a black and his shit's just not working. Well, that's pretty
what I
useless.
was just saying with Curtis. His
Yeah.
shit does that. And like when we were out with just the two of us at the Web Wheelers Ball, when we stopped and we talked with Tim Gibson forever, his rig worked so much better after it cooled off.
Yeah.
There is one car in Ultra 4 that is running ORIs.
Does he have like?
Isn't he running like custom resis though?
I was just about to say, is he running custom resis?
They're a resi ORI. But they have Jensen Brothers in their corner. Like when they were at Hammers, Jensen Brothers came out and put strain gauges and heat marks and all sorts of shit all over those when they were trying to tune their suspension. So Ian Boyce, who's another local guy to me, he's on that race program. He races golf carts for that race team, but they apparently they work, but I don't know how well they work because they're the only car that I know of in Ultra 4 that is using them. So, take that for what you will. They like them, but nobody else is using them. So,
no, I mean, I don't know. Either way, I think that they have their purpose for some people. If you have them, good for you. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That it would be cool to have them like anodized pink for like fucking breast cancer month. But like that's all I got. You could just spray paint your shitty pro fenders and you'll be good to go. Not your shitty, but like never mind.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be
that hurt.
vast. It was supposed to be a vast statement, but it felt very directed. And I'm sorry.
They're shitty pro fenders. They were shitty until I took the green tape off of them that he's had on there for about 3 years.
Yeah, Mr. King with your upside down puck.
I painstakingly scraped that tape off, by the way. It's been on there for so long it was like just hardened onto that thing. I sat at Sam's and just scraped it off.
There's some of that green tape stuck to my roof, and I don't have any plans on removing it.
What green tape? The fucking painter's tape?
Yep.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's great. I noticed that when I was welding in the A's today.
That's funny. Yeah, painter's tape's supposed to come off easy, but
when
you leave it
for 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you leave it, it don't come off easy no more. Oh shit! All right, let's get back to Dave. Sorry, Dave. We pulled away so hard, went on this crazy ass tangent. So the CJ, is that completely retired now, or like what's
playground at an apple orchard now? That's gone.
Amazing.
So a buddy of mine, his dad worked at an apple orchard or owns it. I don't know the whole story of it, but I put it up for sale on just Marketplace, and my buddy called me. Hey, you want to work a deal? Sure. So I sold it for like just the body and the frame for like $600. And it was
I was gonna say, I was hoping it was gonna be some like 19, not even like 1600s deal where it's like, we'll give you 200 bushels of apples for the next 20 years if you give us this vehicle.
No, but I think it was $600. But they somehow they got some big flotation tires off of like a wheel loader or something and built a platform 8 foot in the air and just set the body on. So there's kids crawling around in it. And
that's cool. So it lives on in a much more memorable way than just some 16-year-old kid beating the shit out of it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I parted it out. I mean, there wasn't anything left of it anyway. But yeah, that's gone. And what was it? About this time last year, I bought my Toyota buggy, and again, good parts list. Just this one was built well. It had just been wheeled for years, so definitely needed a lot of work. Every single link in it was bent. Um, I ended up finding a hole in my rear transfer case that was just JB welded. I think a bearing went bad and punched a hole in the rear transfer case. I mean, it's a '93 Toyota, and I'm 6'4", so I don't fit in it. So did a ton of work. I cut the dash out and reworked some of the cage and everything else just to move the dash forward so I could fit. Um, redid the suspension in the front. Adjusted my lower length. The thing just it makes me look like a good driver, honestly, and I'm far from it. Uh, you know, I'm like a 16-year-old getting laid for the first time. I just try and poke it wherever I can and just hope it goes. You know, but it works. I'm thoroughly impressed with it. So it's sort of nice to be back in a Toyota, but then again, it's a 4-cylinder, so it's been swapped. So it's not a 22 RE anymore. It's a 3RZ, which I think they're like 175 horsepower from the factory instead of like the 90 that the 22 RE was. And it's got an A340, so it's got a engine swap out of like a 2000 Tacoma, 4-cylinder Tacoma.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I know what you're talking
So
about now.
it's got an A340, which is the same as an AW4. But I had put a TRD blower on that because everything that I have has to be boosted.
So, but
It,
is that the propane one?
no, that the Ranger's on propane, so that's
Oh,
the one
jeez, my gosh, my brain.
that's not boosted right now. And honestly, around here, getting forklift tanks filled is sort of a pain in the ass.
Well, because that's what my question was going to be. Because I heard that doing the propane and boost thing is kind of a weird setup because you can at certain point you don't have enough pressure from the propane to put enough fuel to the air mixture that you're going to need. So like you're kind of limited to what is it, like 9 psi or something like that
Yeah.
before it
Well,
starts getting fucky.
I mean, on anything, really on anything, unless you have a rising rate fuel pressure regulator, like boost reference fuel pressure regulator, you got to think you're charging the air below the injectors.
Yeah, no,
So
but you're gonna, I mean, because you can put a bigger fuel pump on fuel pump, you know what I mean? Like your fuel
yeah,
pump can push the fuel faster, but you can't push propane or something like that. Like it's like it has like a,
you're relying on the pressure in the tank.
yeah, so like you're
Um,
like limited to that, right? Or something of the sort.
so Kerry Gleason, the guy that owns Got Propane, he's been turbocharging Toyotas forever, and he does a draw through. So the propane mixer is on the inlet of the turbo. So you're pressurizing propane and air
Oh shit. So then you're cooling the air as it comes through too, right?
through. So you don't really, there's no point in,
An intercooler.
well, you really can't run an intercooler because there's a chance of an explosion, right?
That'd be
So,
sick.
uh, so a buddy of mine here locally, he had ran that for years. And he was running like 24 pounds of boost into a 22 RE with water meth. The
Oh shit.
Yeah, the thing worked. But he's got a bent fab chassis now that he's been working on for 3 years, and it's almost done. So, but the blower side of it, I don't understand turbos. Like, tuning them and everything else, setting wastegate pressures and shit like that. It would have been cheaper and quicker for me to just put a turbo on this thing, but I don't understand it. So, I mean, Toyota designed a supercharger for that engine. I'll just buy that. And, 5 pounds of boost. Right now, it definitely livened it up a lot. So,
Hell yeah.
fire roads at 45 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour is nothing. It soaks it up. So
That's fucking cool, and they sound amazing. So I respect it.
yeah, mine is not. It does not scream until about 4,000 RPM. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm running a big pulley. If I put a party pulley on it, it would be loud because the bouncer is obnoxiously loud because it's running. I'm making like 18 pounds of boost with a Whipple on that. So, but fuel's expensive. I always break it. It's sort of a shop ornament at this point. So, because I'll never get half of what I have in it back out of it. So, there's no way. So,
Bouncers ain't cheap, man.
no. So, and then plus in today's standards, it's old technology. It's single shock on all four corners, and it's the nice thing is it's light. It's 4,200 pounds with me in it,
That's not too shabby.
and a full tank of fuel. So
That is quite light.
but you got to look at Timmy Cameron's new car with Tim in it. I think that thing weighs 3,400 pounds. Like
He's the guy that had the IFS bouncer, right? Before his older car.
yes, his new car is like Ultra 4 shit. Like
Yeah, rear motor and shit like that, right?
I don't know. I just saw a little bit of it, but it's single shocked on all four corners. It's 10-inch, diff. So like a Ford 9-inch with 10-inch ring gear in it.
Mhm.
It's pretty nasty, and I think just like every other year, it'll be set for sale at the end of the season because he'll build one and then race it and then sell it. But yeah. So that's that Toyota buggy. It does work extremely well for what it is. It's definitely surprising. I mean, it's not gonna tow one of your rigs out of the woods without overheating and probably breaking shit, but it it gets itself through the trails just fine. So
Yeah, and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that level of power.
I'm kind of thinking back to the Timmy thing. I just watched a video of him running one of the courses, and that dude was flying. That man has a death wish, and I respect it. Like, he does some cool shit with his rigs. But I've always been pretty impressed, especially with his old rig, the IFS car, and then it was like mid-engine. Wasn't he sitting like right next to the engine on one of his old
I think
cars?
so.
Yeah.
for a while there was a lot of cars that were that way. Like the Outlaw buggy was that way. Like you sat right next to it. Like your left leg was, because I want to say it was right hand drive. I could be wrong, but either which way, left leg, right leg had to be on fire the whole
Yeah.
time.
Oh, I
Right,
believe it.
but
No, thank you.
mm-mm.
That was one thing I didn't like about that red dot was how close like everything was to that engine. I know it's a small ass rig, but
yeah,
he
but
had
there's
that
really
thing glowing.
firewall either. You
Pardon?
know what? Like those red dot buggies are works of art, and I wish I had the money to buy the one that's on marketplace right now.
Yeah, the one going for like 80 or whatever, and it's still in pieces.
It's a deal. It's like number 37. You know,
Shit.
but there's, I can wish in one hand and shit in the other, and I'll still not own a red dot. So
Well, you just gotta sell more chassis to more Apple places, and you'll be good. Just keep pushing them out. It'll be fine. It's only like, what is it, like 800? Come on, well, this is not that big of a deal. Just keep
Yeah.
selling them.
Yeah. But yeah, it just there's no way. I've got too many rigs as it is now. So maintenance on them, like obviously one's always in disrepair. Uh, so I'll break one. Like for a while there, I'd break one and then buy another one to wheel it while I'm fixing the one, and then I break that one, and it's the amount. Like I just realized the amount of money that I had in tires is stupid.
Probably more than one of my what my rig's worth.
Yeah, because I don't even know what 43 SX stickies go for now, but there's 2 sets of them sitting in the shop. So, I mean, the kid won't go to college, but I got, dad's got cool shit. So,
Hopefully, she does good in like the state testing or whatever and gets like a good scholarship. She'll be mint.
well, she's fortunate that her dad was a good target and got the enemy marksmanship badge. So she'll go to state schools or Illinois State colleges for free. So
let's go, Dad. Good job, Dad.
Yeah.
Let's go.
She's got that going for her. So
do you think she'll have any interest in wheeling when she gets older? Like, does she show any current signs?
I took her 2 weeks ago. The only other time I had taken her was in the side by side, and that was like 2 years ago. And she had a blast. But again, it was cold and everything else, and she was scared. She liked doing the uphill shit more than downhill.
Makes sense.
You got to realize every time we go up a hill, we got to go down
it.
So, and it got cold. It started getting cold and everything else, and it was drizzly and rainy all day. So we wheeled for 8 hours, and I mean, she had a blast the whole time, but I could tell she was getting cold, so we ended up coming home. But she's definitely, I think she'll get into it. I'd like to build her. Like honestly, I could throw her in the Toyota buggy once she can reach the pedals, and she'd be just fine.
That'll be cool. That's definitely something as I get older and like think about kids. It's something that hopefully, like, it's like you want your kids to enjoy the same hobbies you do so you can keep pursuing them. But then it's like, damn, they're their own person. So you got to like play that balance game of where it's like you want to support them and their hobbies. But then you're like sitting there watching your 3 rigs rot because then you're like, well, she has soccer practice, but I want to work on my shit.
Yeah. Well, ever since I got divorced, I sort of felt like a piece of shit if I'd sneak out in the shop for an hour here, hour there. So I'm not getting as much shit done as I used to because I'd leave her in the house alone. She's like, well, your shop smells. Well, I fart out here, so I don't know what you want me to do. Like you can come hang out here, turn the TV on, do something. No, I'm okay. I'll just hang out in the house. So she scumbags me into coming back in. So I did teach her, so she learned from me. But yeah, but Graham, we were talking before you got here. My 205 is stuck in low range in my Ranger. It was freshly rebuilt. Do you think I just bent a fork, or it doesn't make any noise?
Does it? So it's working. It's in 4 low and working. It just doesn't shift.
Yes.
What kind of shifters do you have on it? Did it shift before?
Huh?
Has it shifted before?
Yeah, it shifted before.
Before the rebuild.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I hadn't ran it before the rebuild.
Gotcha. So you rebuilt it now, won't shift.
No. I wheeled it for a while. Broke the frame rail on the Ranger. Halfway ripped the front axle out from under it. And now I just can't get it out of low range. But it's mechanical linkage for the 205, and then I have a cable shifter for the Magnum box.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if just the mechanical linkage is bound up. I really haven't crawled under it too much. I know that I had an issue with bending the linkage for a while.
That was going to be my first stab at it was either the the shifter is bound up because the detents, the factory detents, when brand new on those things. I don't know how they shifted brand new
I
off the
put
factory floor, but they are tough to shift. The if you don't have adjustable detents, I'd recommend them because then you don't have to have it be ridiculously tight.
there are I think JB's. I mean, I
Okay.
ordered all my shifters and shit from him. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's got adjustable detents, and I felt like I had them set too soft because you just bump the twin sticks and
Mm.
it shift. So,
You
but
could. I mean, so the other thing is with those is there's a couple different things happening between. Is it? I assume it's twin stick, right?
it's twin stick, yeah.
Yeah. So is it new shafts or were they cut shafts?
Oh, it's all new shit.
Okay, I figured. I don't know. Maybe you got an issue with one of those the pill shaped
Yeah,
bearings or balls in between the shifters, and something isn't sitting right or something's stuck in there with those. Because if those aren't moving, I would think it wouldn't move.
yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I don't see how anything internally could have caused it to bind up like that. There's really not, unless you have gears touching gears that it shouldn't be touching, which would
Just
make
be
noises.
yeah, yeah.
So I would
It
say,
doesn't make any noises. So,
yeah.
um, I mean, it's got to come out anyway because I got to pull the engine and fans out to build new frame rails anyway. So
Mhm.
I'll take it out and send it back to Ryan and have him go through it. So it should still be under warranty anyway. So,
Yeah,
um,
easy enough. I bet you it's something in that the 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 shift ball detent
yeah,
area.
yeah. I honestly, I haven't even pulled the skid plate off yet to even look. I might have just tacoed the shit out of the shifter arm.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
they're
gonna be
pretty
my
dead
guess. Was
simple.
maybe something got bent and you just didn't notice it yet, and you're just
Oh,
like shoving it into like a solid piece of metal, and you're like, God damn, this fucking thing won't shift.
Well,
Like,
my luck is there's probably a piece of wood shoved up in there, wedging
Hmm.
everything up. But I mean, so Chris's core event that he was talking about last week, the Ranger was at that last year. It sat on my crawler hauler for probably a week until the event this year. So I hadn't even touched it. You know, like I said, I broke the frame rail, uh, pulled all the threads out of my U-bolt eliminators on the front end of it on the driver's side of the axle. So it was just sitting on that leaf spring. We had to wrap ratchet straps around it just to get it off the trail. Um, so it just sat. It's been neglected for sure. So it needs to. I've just been slowly compiling parts to get it all fixed, and it'll go. It'll go under the knife here shortly, and hopefully get all fixed. But
Quick little snip here, a little snip there, and you're good.
yeah,
The
so, oops, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, give him the official invite to the Web Wheelers Ball next year. You're only like what 12 hours from Good Evening Ranch. Come and hang out and do it.
I think it's 12 or 14. I don't know where Chris got the 12-hour thing because he's 2.5 hours away from me. So I don't know, further west than me. He's on the other side of the Mississippi River. So I don't know how he came up with like 12 hours, but I can find out really quick. I want to say it's close to 14, but I'm not afraid to drive to do some good wheeling. So
It's
That
definitely
park's
worth
good
it.
wheeling. Yeah, it's good. And the thing I like about it is that the trails kind of run together pretty well. So
yeah,
you can just kind of bebop around wherever you want to go through trails.
shit, dude, it's only 9 hours. So yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 9 hours.
That's how he got the 12 hours then.
Yeah, the 2.5 hours. So
crazy how math works. That's insane.
Weird. Not good at math, not good with computers. So
Explains the military
Fucking
background. Now I'm getting it. Oh shit, that's funny. But yeah,
All right,
it
well,
was-
you don't have an excuse now. Curtis is driving 10, so like,
oh yeah.
we drive 12. All right, I don't want to hear it. All right,
Yeah.
Mister 8 hours or whatever you are, Luke. You're close as hell to there.
You ride with Graham everywhere. So you sleep in the passenger seat, right? While Graham drives.
Hey now. I only okay. In the whole 12
Called
hours,
out.
how long did you think I slept? How long do you think I slept?
I mean, you were awake for the beginning, but everybody's awake for like the first 4 hours.
That is
Um,
bullshit. It
hang
was
on.
4 a.m. by the time that I finally passed the fuck out and then woke up to us hitting the fucking wood
No,
section on the
Graham.
highway like it was a supercross track. Okay.
Graham, he's just not built different. It's okay. They have to sleep like that.
My God, you guys are a mess. But no, next year I do not plan on just being Graham's passenger princess because this way better looking blonde than me is now taking up that spot. So I got to figure it out
Oh, I
on
got
my
a back
own
seat.
now.
You
That's a
could
good
third
point.
wheel.
Oh, dude, I'm definitely
She
sleeping
might not
if it's-
even want to go. So, that seat is always open, one or the other.
I doubt
It's
that.
a 2500. We got plenty of towing capacity for everyone.
Damn, you calling me fat, dog? Jesus Christ. I'm going to need a 35.
That was a little rough. Sorry. You're not.
I don't know, Cody. Have you ever ridden in the back seat of a second gen Ram though?
It was a third gen, but no,
No, different. Very different.
Yeah,
Not the same.
their back seats are very 90 degrees. It's
Well, not only
yeah.
that, but zero leg room in them.
Yeah, so here's how you get comfortable in a second gen. You sit diagonal across the seat with your legs in the passenger side.
I'm going in the Jeep. Y'all are crazy. He's got heated seats in that fucking thing. I'm hopping in the Jeep for the 12 hours. That would suck. But no. Next year I there's going to be a very strong push to get my shit there. I'm trying to make that happen. So something in April, maybe not, but definitely mid-season to end of season. If I'm not in a rig, then I need to just quit the podcast and wheeling altogether and go play golf or something because it might be a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like the other podcast has actually wheeled more than you this year.
I mean, if they went and did any, then yes.
Yep.
I respect. See, I always love when when one of our guests comes on and then harasses me for that because then I know you've listened to the podcast because it's like, son of a bitch, you haven't made a pegging joke. That's usually the number one that usually somebody makes a joke about. But goddamn, that is funny. But
I wasn't
You're
gonna
not
bring
laughing.
your uncle at all. So
yes.
That fucking reel made the rounds, boy.
I had it the first time I saw it. I was sitting in the office at work, and my employees were there, and I played it, and two of them just looked at me like I had a dick growing out of my forehead. What in the fuck are you watching, dude? I don't know. I have no idea.
Fat Mario looking dude with a mustache saying something stupid. I don't know. Oh fuck! I just showed my sister that video. She's like, "What's wrong with you? Our uncles are all great. What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "God damn it! Never mind." Oh shit. Oh, but yeah, no. Yeah, 12 hours. That's not bad. Honestly, even the 18 down to Tennessee really wasn't terrible. But we split it up. I don't think we'd have to split it up next year. I think we just leave at a normal time, Graham. Normal time,
What do you
not
mean? We
not
left at
10
5
o'clock
p.m.
at night.
Oh, we did
left
leave at
at
10
10 o'clock at night.
We left at 5 in my book. Right after work. We
What?
just hopped in the truck.
It was like
Got on our
6:30 when you
way.
picked me up.
No, it wasn't.
You guys are fucking something else.
We got there the same day we left. What do you mean?
I ain't fucking nothing.
It was
By
all
the
one
way.
day. We were like halfway through by the time we got there.
Oh, jeez Louise.
That Tennessee trip was good.
So are we going on Thanksgiving? Have we talked about this?
I don't know. I gotta do a few
Morgan's
things here and
going.
there.
So
Yeah. Well, Morgan doesn't have to drive.
18
so-
hours.
Yeah. She just
No,
has to
but
hop at the passenger seat. Same with
I'm just
Cody.
saying.
I gotta fix my Jeep a little bit. The truck needs some little
Love.
things.
An oil change.
An oil change for sure. I've been running it pretty hard with. It's probably still within the parameters of synthetic, but we're not gonna push it. And it's leaking transmission fluid really bad from one of the lines. Not like have to fill it up, but it's pissing more.
Is
than
it one of the
used to.
fittings?
It's none. Yeah, it's one of the fittings on the
Jesus
transmission
Christ.
cooler. So it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to. It's right below the turbo, and
Is it like the stupid push-in style that Jeep did with all the other, or fucking not Jeep?
I don't know.
Like,
I can only see the whole apparatus. I didn't, and it was leaking on me, so I wasn't looking at it for too long. But I was just tracing the leak, and that's where it was leaking from. So I've got to do some. I'm actually looking up what that thing is now as we were talking about it. Funny enough, I was also looking at a carrier bearing and just other little shit it needs. And I should probably fix the brake. That's a little crooked, and just other random little shit. But if I have all that stuff done in time, and I have the extra money, then why the hell not?
hell yeah.
Turkey
So
can wait.
I was gonna say, I was speaking back to Badlands. I know that we were talking about that earlier. It's funny that you've mentioned that because a lot of those guys have mentioned that to us. Like, that's the property to go to. Is there any others that are like worth going to out that way other than S'more?
I like Flat Nasty, and Flat Nasty is only like 30 minutes from S'more, but it is like party. It's basically central, the middle part of America's Good Evening Ranch. They don't close
Oh, okay.
like more after 11 o'clock or whatever it is. You can wheel whenever. It's under new ownership. So I think they have a shower house now. But last time I went, it was 100% just primitive. They had one porta potty, so you're
Oh
just
boy.
basically. But yeah, it's a pretty damn cool park. I don't even remember how many acres, but it's got a little bit of everything. A lot of rock. There's a lot of cool parks down in that part of Missouri. Um, there's Moonlight Racing, which is a smaller park, and it's all like dirt, so like almost. I don't know. It's like the rock breaks real easily, so if like you could hit one obstacle today and tomorrow it could be completely different. Like you could walk it today and then just wad your shit up tomorrow. And then there's Pruitt Mountain down there. There's a lot of places, a lot of newer places even that I haven't been to, but there's buddies of mine that love them. So, uh, yeah, that's I still think Flat Nasty is one of my favorite parks. I'd go there over going to the Badlands. Um, every time. It's just, twice the drive. Badlands is 2 hours from my house.
Yeah, I think
So,
S'more is 24 from us, right, Graham? Good talk. Thanks, Graham.
Yeah,
Ah.
about 24. I mean, if you were just driving straight through, which is rough because it's a lot of flat. Like at least hills, it gives you like something to look kind of focus on. It was flat. Like I've seen flat, but that shit was fucking flat going in and leaving.
once you get through or into Ohio, everything over here is just fucking flat, man.
Yep.
Um,
I don't know. I
except-
complain about like New York and all that, but at least it's like something to do. Like you're dodging cars or going up hills and dealing with going, at least in a old truck, dealing with how fast you have to go down the hill to go up the hill and not lose fourth gear or whatever, and just it keeps you active and thinking about things. Whereas when you're just driving straight, you're like, there's the sun, it's going down really slowly. Or wow, I can see really far, but there's nothing to see.
Well, you must be
Yeah.
half asleep for like the last 2 hours of the drive then, because once you start getting down there in Missouri, it's a lot of hills and a lot of twists, and it depends which route you go. You know what I mean?
We took the one with the really skinny bridges.
So you went through St. Louis, right?
Well, from Tennessee, we went through from Tennessee over what was that, Luke? The
Mississippi.
Mississippi. Yeah, wow, I didn't realize we went over the Mississippi. Well, I just didn't think that was the river. I thought it was further west, but
No, it's kind of like right near Mississippi.
I don't know. I just didn't expect that I'd drive that far. Okay.
Did you
And
think it
there
was
you
near
were.
Utah and Colorado? Like, how far out do you think Mississippi was?
I don't know. Further than it was. Yeah, that way was pretty flat from what I remember. Just cutting across all that. Going up through, what did I count? I went back through Indianapolis and all the cities. I was told by some of the Illinois guys to avoid all that, but I just didn't because it was 3 a.m. and there was no traffic anyways.
And like if you hit 465 at rush hour, you're fucked.
Yeah,
like fucked. But if you hit it at a good time, you can get right around Indianapolis. So, but and
the way back wasn't too bad. As far as like things to focus on, and there were it was rolling hills, which are nice. Keeps the old truck happy and my brain happy, and yeah, I don't know. It was dark, so I couldn't really see much.
There's not much to see out here, buddy. Especially now that they cut all the corn and beans. So
I was admiring. I don't even think it was corn, but I was calling it corn in my head. I was about 14 hours straight driving, looking at fields in Ohio.
Yeah,
screaming about the corn.
You got 50% chance of it being corn or it's beans. You know,
out
corn
this
and
way,
beans.
Out this way, it's mostly tobacco. That's all we really see. It's just tobacco everywhere.
Yeah.
And the Hispanics dragging it around with the tractor trailer things.
First off, racist. Second off,
well, it's not. I mean, maybe
no,
it is.
they're mostly. A lot of them are Jamaican. Like 99%.
Oh,
of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to work at a tobacco farm, so sorry. Yeah, when you're younger, you get in trouble with the law, and you need to
at a tobacco farm.
You need to make some money. You can work at tobacco. Either way, I definitely want to get out that way. I know. So I think what was it? Fucking Curtis was the one that was telling us about Flat Nasty, right?
That was
Right,
Jonard, I think, because I don't remember Curtis ever talking about it. I might be wrong.
Maybe I'm just dumb. I can't remember either.
Who knows? It's Curtis. He wheels like once every 3 months or once every 6 years. Who fucking knows?
And that was one of the ones that, like, I think that's where he did he went up that super steep climb backwards, wasn't that? Or was that S'more? Or was that
I
Badlands?
thought that was Badlands. I don't know.
Badlands. Jeez, it's rough. I definitely want to go out that way though. It looks like some cool wheeling. But something about that 24-hour time mark definitely would irk the soul. Just driving straight for forever.
Well, yeah, if you make a week of it and you stop at the Badlands, would you say that was like 14 hours, 15 hours?
Badlands, I think it's somewhere around actually be further because let me look it up really quick. Fuck. Hold on. Un momento, por favor. So what you said, like, just take a trip out to is Indiana Badlands? Indiana.
Yeah. Just Badlands Off-Road Park is the easiest thing to search. But like, if you make a week trip of it, you know, you drive for 15 hours, stop at the Badlands, camp for the night, wheel for the day, get up in the morning, head, further west. I'm trying to think. Flat Nasty is 6 hours, 5 hours from my door. And then I'm 2 hours from the Badlands. So you're talking 7-hour drive there. And then wheel at Flat Nasty. And I mean, seriously, it's only 45 minutes closer than S'more, I think. So
Yeah.
it's not far from S'more, but there's other places closer, like Moonlight. I think Moonlight's only an hour further away from me than the Badlands is.
I think that's how we're gonna have to do it. Honestly, we'll just have to like plan trips with the people out by that area and be like, "Hey, we're gonna be out for a week. This is the plan. If you want to wheel with us at one of these places, feel free." And then just make it happen. Because same thing with out west. We were talking about that. Like that might have to be a 2-week plan. And just go hit like fucking Moab, Sand Hollow, then drop down to is it Grand Junction area in Colorado? Like hit all those cool places, then come back and whatnot. I feel like it'd be a lot of fun.
I honestly don't think any Moab wheeling is that fun. I mean, what do you got to do? Dodge a mountain? You know what I mean? Like you're in the land of traction.
There's cactus.
Yeah,
There's spiky.
No, you can't drive over them. Yeah, you'll be like arrested. It's like a federal offense out there to run over vegetation.
But if you do and it flings it up at you, you're gonna get a cactus lodged in your ass.
I think it would just be more for the experience, honest to God. Like if we were gonna do that, just going and experiencing it, so that way it's something to put under your, put it right on your Boy Scout fucking badge of honor, if you will. Not much of an honor, really, just sticking to everything, but still just for the fact
merit badges.
Yeah, it's a merit badge.
Badge of honor is that Jeep thing they do.
Well,
are you trying to sign us up with the JKs? I thought you were different.
No, I'm just saying.
You had a JK. You don't get to talk.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, but I also have a Shipbox XJ, and I don't have a JK anymore.
You used to. Doesn't matter. Once a JK owner, always a JK owner.
Harsh, but true. That's why I wheel my garbage. It makes me feel more like a man. It's great.
But yeah, something like that. Because I definitely think out like in the Northwest would be a lot of fun to go and experience. I think their style of wheeling would be like the closest to what we have in New England, but with a lot more. It's like a lot more trail riding, isn't it? With like then obstacles on the trails.
It is at 100%.
Yeah, which I think could be a lot of fun, and just just another thing to add to the repertoire of things that you can say you've done and to have experience. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and honestly, it's content for us, right? Like no matter like any new experience is going to be something good for us to chat about. So,
like I honestly probably my favorite wheeling experience was out wheeling at Moon Rocks, and my rig was not anything ready for Moon Rocks, but I had a blast.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had a chance to go back out to the PNW to wheel, I would take that in a heartbeat. Because
you gotta.
Where is Moon Rocks again?
Washington, isn't it?
Washington.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I wheeled all over. I had wheeled in Oregon. I had wheeled in Washington. I had wheeled in Idaho.
I was gonna say Idaho is right there. And I know that there's a few a few parks. Or is it parks or is it state owned? I guess it's
yeah,
it's be a park. I guess kind of. Either way, you got to introduce us to some people out there. Give us some cool people to become friends with. To give us a good excuse to go out that way.
I don't know anybody out there anymore.
I think we have one.
All right, Moon Rocks looks pretty sick. I looked up some pictures.
Yeah, yeah. And I had a second gen 4Runner. Full-bodied 4Runner on a mini truck front axle. It wasn't, in 37s. It wasn't anything crazy, but at the time, it was, a pretty well built rig. So I am almost 100% positive that my Toyota buggy had I know it's a Pacific Northwest rig. Just the way it was built. I bought it from a guy here in Illinois that bought it on his way to Moab in fucking Nebraska. So it slowly started making its way east. It's one of those rigs that had just changed hands so many times, and you can tell, like, you look at welds, like, oh man, that was TIG welded, and then this one looks like Ray Charles welded it with his feet.
Hi.
Then wasn't that guy able to drive though? So was he really blind? Was he?
I don't know. He was able to drive.
Well, okay. I always get the two of those musicians mixed up. There was Ray Charles, and then there was the other guy. Stevie Wonder. Was it Stevie Wonder that was blind too?
Yeah.
One of those two dudes could drive. Or not like, okay, again, now could he drive or has he driven? I don't know. Like, I know that there's a video of one of them driving in a parking lot. Does that, I don't know. But either way, I hear you, because I literally look like Stevie Wonder's guide dog taught me how to weld. So you can definitely know when I'm welding something compared to Graham or Marvell, especially. That motherfucker can weld.
It sort of sucks, but I got into the rig for the right price. So if I have to do a little bit of work, I don't really mind. It just sucks cutting other people's bullshit out and redoing it. But I'm sure if I ever sell something and somebody buys it, well, what the fuck is this motherfucker thinking? Because I'm not that smart. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the smartest dude ever. I'm actually pretty fucking dumb. So, if it works for now, that's great. But
I feel like that's every rig though. Like, with a few exceptions.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely exceptions to that, but like 95% of rigs have like some weird fucky thing going on, whether it was a trail fix or just something dumb and it just worked. It just doesn't need to be changed. But then somebody obviously is going to go through, if you're selling a rig that you worked on, somebody's going to go through it and they're inevitably going to find things that you did. They're going to be like, what the fuck was this guy thinking? And it just is what it is.
Can't always fix it.
Worked for me.
Oh, well.
I didn't have any problem.
well, the temporarily permanent trail fixes.
Oh yeah.
Those are always great. Like, I completely forgot that I fixed that with 3 Optimas and a coat hanger 4 years ago. It worked fine up until it didn't. So.
Oh well. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about, like, right now, I know that one of those sketchy fixes on my rig was I took a piece of square tube and just wedged that against the upper link mount and plated the unibody behind it and just quickly burned all that together to hold my upper link mount in place, and it's doing its job still.
Well, it'd be more work to cut it out and make it right than leave it. So just leave it.
Yeah, it's like 3/16. It's fine.
Oh yeah. If you got oxyacetylene, just wash that out. Right up against your sheet metal inner frame rail. What you're wrong. So I don't know. But listening to last week, like, Chris was all concerned about his rear suspension, and I tried telling him, I'm like, dude, you're not racing. If you're worried about your rig unloading, just center strap it. So
Yep.
put a center strap in it. I'm with Graham. I don't like suck down winches.
Hell yeah.
I've got buddies
on the same page.
It's a band-aid. Like your
No,
suspension.
it's a tool in the tool
No.
shed. Come on, boys.
No.
Come on.
If your suspension's set up like shit, yeah, put a suck down winch on it. It's easier than adjusting link mounts. But I am definitely not opposed to center strapping it and limiting, overall down travel. But articulation is where it's at. You don't, especially on that hill climb, it was definitely sketchy. When Chris said he stood it up, his taillights were on the ground. And I know the guy that built it, so I was sort of concerned about his health and well being. You know what I mean? So, but that scout works extremely well for the amount of time he had put into it to build it. It was definitely impressive. So and he's just an all around good dude too. So I can't knock that guy. So,
I also love scout builds. Like definitely have a soft spot in my heart for scouts. So it's always fun to see when people do cool shit with them. Yeah, we'll definitely have to, once we try to get out that way, we'll definitely have to hit you and him up and try to make something happen.
I think it's pretty much a go for us to go out to the Web Wheelers. So
yes, sir. It's growing even bigger. It's gonna be scary when it gets to a point where we actually have to make this like an official thing with the landowners wherever we do it. Like that's gonna be very odd, and like then that's gonna mean less wheeling for us, which makes me sad. If it actually
we've got another year if we keep growing at this rate.
I think so too. I think once we hit over the 150 rig range, I think at that point we're gonna have to be like, hey, what day works best
over the
for
100?
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, 100 rigs is a lot of rigs.
Yeah, honestly, you could figure out what it'd cost to have a private event at like the park at Good Evening or something like that.
Then we'd have to change the weekend because
it'd have to fit their schedule at that point.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun. I think if we get over that 100 mark range, we would have to do something to like show appreciation for the people who are showing up. Like currently it is mostly like close friends. Like, I mean, we knew, I say what, 90% of the people that were at that park that weekend. For with rigs, we'll say in reason, because there was a lot of families that were just camping and whatnot. Who cares about them, right? Like they're just there to sleep and hang out. But like I think it'd be a lot of fun to actually like bring people together. I think that'd be a good time. So instead we're just not like high-fiving as we pass each other in the woods.
I mean, honestly, if you do like an event weekend, you could pre-sale tickets and, say, okay, well, we'll charge $20 a day, whatever. If you make it $25 a day and then say like Saturday, you want to do an appreciation thing, like dinner or some bullshit, just have it catered in. Catering food is not that expensive.
It's a really good point. And it stays warmer longer, and it works. It makes flow of people pretty good.
Do anything, you meet a guy at the gate and you give him money and he gives you food, and then you just set it out. Like, it's not. I mean,
now we're like getting professional. That means like everything can't be thrown together at the last minute. I don't know how I feel about this.
It's a wheeling trip. Have you ever went on a thoroughly thought out wheeling trip? Because I sure as fuck haven't.
Definitely not.
Good.
Definitely not.
I was scared for a second what the
yeah.
I'm glad nobody's thinking about too much.
Yeah, because you start planning it and there's gonna be 20 dudes, and then 2 months later it's you and one other guy. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes with my group of friends, at least.
Sounds familiar.
Yep.
So I don't know. I've got a trip planned on the 11th, and we'll see how many people actually show up. So I just gotta put the rear axle back together before. I mean, fucking rig's not even off the trailer yet. I have a problem with breaking shit and just leaving it on the trailer. So I gotta, now that it's cold, I don't want to work on it outside, so I gotta get it off the trailer and get it in the shop. But yeah, so I should have known better than to expect a Dana 60 rear to hold together as long as it did. But I bought shafts for it, so it's going to have to live a little bit longer, I suppose. But,
Just, kick it a couple times and it'll come back to life.
well, I had ordered all the shit. I was standing right next to it talking to Chris, ordering shafts and everything. And then I gave him my credit card number, and I looked to the left, and there's a trust locked, 14 bolt that I could easily just throw in it. But I didn't. So,
Here we
but
are.
yeah, but that rig's so light. I mean, granted, axle weight isn't a bad thing, so it would have helped out, but
I will
it,
say I do like the Dana 60Us. They're kind of a cool axle because they're factory bored out for the 32 spline, but a 35 spline fits in without having to bore them. They're disc brake, and they're just kind of an okay and cool axle.
Is that the
What the hell?
van ones?
Yep.
Yeah, as you say, I know that the van ones were very different, or not very different, but like had some pretty unique shit done to them.
Aren't
Well,
those
that-
the full floater ones?
Yep.
Or are they semi-float? No,
They're full
Collin's
float
full
and semi. The 350s full float, 250s semi.
so that's a Ford van.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. I never really thought about that. So mine's a Chevy Van 60. And I was telling Luke and Cody before you got on here, Graham, I ordered shafts, and granted they're cut to length, so there's 8 inches of spline. I cut them down, slid them in, went to bolt them up, and my bolt circle was completely wrong. So it's not an 8-on-4-inch bolt circle like, I thought it was. It's a van rear axle apparently, because both shafts are the same length. And so I pulled up old threads on Pirate, and sure as shit, it's a van axle because it's got a 8-on-3 3/4 bolt circle on the hubs. So, and nobody makes Dana 60 or aftermarket hubs. I was just gonna order some billet hubs, but I had to buy a whole nother 60 just to rob the hubs off of it.
Jesus.
So
That's a pain in the ass.
Well, I know. Isn't it the same thing with the single rear wheel 14 bolts or something like that?
There's
There's
some
something where they're
weird...
really hard to find. Because I remember
Yeah.
I had to grab a set for Mike Pambianco out in Long Island because he, couldn't find them anywhere. And this one old dude
what?
was selling them.
Pambianco's in Long Island. Why would he call you to grab him?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that he is in Long Island, and he was talking to me and Colin about a set up in like southern New Hampshire or something because he couldn't find them anywhere else, and it was just this old dude who didn't want to sell it to somebody over the internet. So I just went there with $50, and he gave me the hubs, and then I drove them down to him, or I think I shipped them or I drove them. I don't remember. I had to pick stuff up from him. So
are they like metric 14 bolt hubs, or
I don't know what was weird about them, or it's not a weird part. Like it's an odd thing for them to not be like to not have an aftermarket option for, but I guess the spindles are just really hard to come by.
That is weird because I know Sunfire makes billet hubs for a actually extremely decent price because I put those on the bouncer. Solid does not, unfortunately, because they're in Indiana, so I try and order as much shit from them as I can, but just
They make good shit.
Yeah, they're local and they're a smaller company, so. But and then anything else that I can't find, I always call Stan from Brannick because he's 2 hours away, and I'd rather drive out there and shoot the shit with him than even pay for shipping. Granted, diesel fuel's what, $4.25 a gallon here or something. It'd be cheaper to ship it, but if I can take a day off work, I'll take a day off work. So,
yep. Okay. It is a 60 SRW hub. It's not a 14 bolt. It's a Dana 60 hub. That was what
that makes sense.
So, what you were talking about is just hard weird part to find.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I would have known that because I could have just thrown a truss on it and threw some 488 gears in it and welded up the spiders and been fine. But well, no, because it's a 8 on 170 bolt pattern, isn't it?
Up to 2004 was 8 on 6.5.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
They swapped the vans in 05.
I will have to remember that shit then, because
Yeah, if you get one of the mid 90s disc brake models, they're pretty, or like late 90s disc brake models, it's going to be 8 on 6.5 with factory discs and all that bullshit.
well, that we'll see how long these 30 spline shafts last. Because I didn't even break the splines; it broke the hat off the shaft.
My big thing though is if you're going to go through that much effort to swap something, I would just throw a different rear axle in
Oh
it.
yeah, like I said, I've got a 14 bolt that's ready to go that I was going to put in the YJ buggy, but I just don't have time to build another rig or really need another rig. If
Yeah, then
anything,
that's what I would do.
if anything, I'm going to build a full size rig that can fit 5 or 6 people with heat and air conditioning. So
Heat and air conditioning's underrated.
it, yeah. I mean, I don't have a trailer rig with air conditioning. I mean, no, I don't have a rig with heat either. I take that back. So
See, you just gotta rip off the heat shielding, and then you'll have plenty of heat. It'll be fine.
yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping I get the windshield put in the cab of the Toyota within the next week or so, because it's going to be relatively chilly on the weekend of the 11th. It looks like so. It's completely open air. There's no glass in it at all. So just something to break the wind a little bit would be nice. But
Yeah, I'm excited that my Jeep's keeping its heater. So
yeah.
I feel
Are you
on
taking
that.
all the glass out of it, or are you leaving the windscreen?
For this trip, I'm not taking all the glass out of it, but when I go to build the spreader bars, the windshield's coming out. Just because of how close I built the original cage, it can't stay in.
Yeah,
The tube has to go where it is.
You might regret that later on, but you're far enough south where it's not ridiculously cold. So
It gets down into the 30s and the 20s sometimes, but that's not that terrible.
You have to bundle up.
Yeah.
And the rig does have heat.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I got some snowmobiling gear that you can borrow if you really need it. I got you.
Still has a windshield for now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying, like, if we need to make it happen, I got you. We can keep you warm, bud.
I was literally thinking about that earlier today on my drive back from the office. I was like, shit, I gotta put windows back in it because it's gonna be cold this winter.
Does yours have heat, Graham, or is
it
all that
does,
shit?
but it's kind of, I don't know. It's been working better, but it was clogged and it magically unclogged itself. It used to not work at all.
Well, didn't you run that Jeep for like 2 months with no water in it?
Not no water. It had some water.
It didn't have enough to heat up the heater
Listen,
core.
Yeah, well,
If
maybe
there's no flow through the heater core, there's no heat.
Is that how that works?
That was Ronald 2.0? No,
Ronald
1.0. That was the first one.
1.0, yeah.
I mean, it had other problems. Technically, it never died. What killed it was the crank position sensor number 2 went out on it. The first one, it ate.
Was it the cam or the crank?
Sorry, cam position sensor. The second one, it just kind of like silently died. It didn't have a really, nothing was crazy wrong with it. I couldn't get AutoZone. What happened was I had a trip coming up, couldn't get AutoZone to get me a part. It took me 2 weeks for this one AutoZone. This is why I go through O'Reilly's. Like, AutoZone like is just
terrible.
That store for whatever reason just kept pulling me around. I ordered 2 of them They had like $200 or more of my money in these stupid sensors, and they were like, "Oh no, I don't know, it never showed up." Of course, it's this little tiny thing because it's just the cap. Like all I need is the top piece. So they were like, "Oh no, I don't see it. I don't like." And every time I'd go in, I talked to the manager and all this shit, and they just never had it. And I had a trip coming up, and I was like, "If it's not that cam position sensor, then I'm fucked. I need to start changing the motor." So that's what I did, and of course I put the motor in with the other cam position sensor from the old motor to see, right? And of course it was bad. So a new one from O'Reilly's, they had it in the store. They didn't have to order it from the mothership or wherever. And that one ran. But technically the other one, even though it had a blown head gasket, no coolant in it for quite a while, and it sounded like a Jehovah's Witness getting catapulted multiple times at the door. It still ran, and it still had power. Like I was driving it on the road up until it just stopped running. Like it just, because the cam sensor just died. But it was a good motor.
Speaking
it
of,
sits in Marvell's yard slicing trailer tires.
oh, I forgot about that mess.
Yeah, it hides in leaf piles and pounces on them.
Mind you, motor is bright yellow and red, very hard to hide, but somehow still managed to happen.
Well, it's the color of the leaves, so
all right,
blends in.
you got me there.
Yeah.
You got me there. I'll concede to that. That's fucking hilarious. Speaking of parts like taking forever, I had to order an ignition coil for a leaf blower at work. They told me 2 to 3 days, 4 weeks for a fucking ignition coil. 4 fucking weeks. So if you ever had to order something from Steel, so it's Taplin, which is like the local place, but they had to order it from like Steel, like Steel STIHL. You've never done yard work. Never mind. You probably wouldn't know.
Oh, Still, yeah, like the with the little H and the L, and yeah,
yeah, that's how letters work. Yep. But yeah, 4 fucking weeks. I couldn't fucking believe it. That shit's crazy.
Just call up Jeff Bezos and get one off Amazon. It'll be there the next day.
Jeff Bezos, yeah, I got him on. I got him on the telly. I'll just give him a ring.
He
really
hand
quick,
delivers every package. You didn't know,
dude? He's like Santa Claus. What a guy! He's just making it happen out here. Alrighty, well, we're kind of getting to a slow point now. We're slowly losing conversation here. So, Mr. Dave,
Speak for yourself.
I know. Hey, well, then you better get them vocal cords rocking, brother. But Mr. Dave, before we slowly start wrapping stuff up here, do you have any final questions or concerns or thoughts?
Well, not really. Sort of put me on the spot.
No, I just figured
every time we ask this question every time, and it's always like no,
no, not really.
By your second time, next time you come on, I bet you'll have plenty of things where you're like, fuck, man, I should have said that. God dang it. They asked me and I wasn't ready. Do you have a small animal fact? That's always a great one to throw right on you. You got one for us?
No.
This guy's the worst.
I thought about it, but I really don't.
No, that's quite all right. At this point, we just throw it in like a monkey wrench every once in a while and make people uncomfortable when we ask it. It's pretty great.
I don't have a fact, but I've got a small animal statement, and it's not really. It's just sort of something I've noticed on my drive to the office. There is an animal. It's not a raccoon. I don't know what it is, if it's like a beaver or what, but it's on the side of I-90, rigor mortis up. It's like totally spread eagle, and I can't figure out what it is.
It's
I've driven past
it, dude.
No, it's bigger than a groundhog. It's like kind of barrel chested with really small like arms that hands that aren't. Maybe I don't know.
Groundhog.
It's like the size of a raccoon.
Yeah, woodchuck.
No, it's not a possum. It's not gray. It's brown. It's like
then it's a woodchuck. Then it's a
Here I am with some motivational shit for the end of the episode. We're talking about rigor mortis up woodchucks. What the fuck?
Don't forget the spread eagle.
The arms are like out. It's why it keeps catching my eye every time. I'm not looking for it, but every time I go past it, I'm like, oh shit, there it is. What is that?
Oh shit!
There's your animal fact. Spread eagle woodchuck.
Oh
on the
my
side
god!
of the road.
Well, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate every single one of you. Please, if you can, head over to any of your listening platforms and go and put a little 5-star rating, make a fucking comment or anything like that. We'll love it. A review, if it's a funny enough review, I'll happily read it on here. So if you get going on some funny shit, I'll make sure that everybody else sees it. But again, thank you guys for listening. Dave, do you have any social media that you use or not really?
I'm on Facebook, just Dave Hanson, and then on Instagram, it's just Dave. I think
Alrighty.
I'll tag you in the
I want-
post when we make it.
Perfect. Well, if you guys are interested in checking out Dave on any social media, feel free to go and do that. And on that note,
On that note, one of the things that will help you be happier in life is learning to enjoy the small steps in the process. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like the coolest thing ever, but just enjoy doing tube work. Makes life easier.
Or looking at roadkill on your drive to work.
what the fuck?
Enjoy the